Hi, everybody. Welcome to DomainSherpa. And as always, thank you for tuning into the podcast with the best domain name and digital asset content in the world. Today's episode is a Sherpa short titled Take the Plunge, featuring the MediaOptions team. We've got Chris, Matthew, and Drew on the show. Typically on Sherpa shorts, we pick a domain name topic or two and we dig into them for a bit. Today, we talk about domain names related to Cold Plunge tubs and a recent article by Rick Schwartz about the importance of premium domain names to businesses and how they're now in a lot of ways more accessible than ever, even as prices on premium domains go up. And remember, we also have the ICA member meeting coming up in Las Vegas in January, specifically taking place at Resorts World Las Vegas, January 17th to the 20th, with all sorts of great stuff going on, access to information and insight, networking opportunities, extracurricular events as well, including the Sphere and pickleball. So if you're not registered yet, get registered. And if you're not a member yet, you need to sign up and support the ICA and take advantage of all the membership benefits. We good? Good. Now, if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, remember you can also watch the video version at domainsherpa.com and on our YouTube channel at ds.tv. You can also check us out on Apple and Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. Make sure that you hit the like button, that you subscribe, comment, let us know what you like, what you don't like. You have any questions, hit us up. We're here. And as usual, big shout out to Dan.com, the #1 place in the world to buy and sell your domains with a special platform made for domain investors. Yeah, with all that, it's now time to get into this segment of Sherpa Shorts here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. So let's go. What's up, Sherpa Network? Thank you for tuning in today. My name is Jonathan Tenenbaum, a.k.a. JT, a.k.a. J-On, a.k.a. Sherpa Winfrey. And I'm the host and producer of Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Today's show is a Sherpa short featuring the MediaOptions team. We got everybody on board today, Drew, Chris, Matthew, to focus on the domain space through the end user lens from the perspective of the best domain brokers in the world. And usually we pick a topic or two to dig into. We've got a couple of things to talk about today. So, yeah, we're just doing what we do. So let me go ahead real quick. I'm going to dive right into the AKAs. Over to my right, we got my boy Andrew Rosner, a.k.a. Morpheus, a.k.a. the Dirk Diggler of Digital Assets, a.k.a. Bob Lee Swagger, the Sniper, a.k.a. Drew got what I need, a.k.a. every Rosner has his thorn, a.k.a. never gonna give Drew up, a.k.a. Graybeard, the domain pirate in the building. What's up, man?
Lot going on, a lot going on. Just that's it.
All right, man. I know exciting times. We're right now we're in this pocket in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, so everybody's in the holiday.
Well, we're in that final sprint. It's it's the end of the year. It's the final sprint. We got, call it 3 more weeks of business for the year, and it's usually a very productive 3 weeks. So far this week has been a lot of action, a lot of interest, bunch of deals in the pipeline. Let's see what comes out the other side. And so, yeah, it's just, the next 3 weeks is just heads down.
I dig it, man. I dig it. All right. Well, cool. We're going to talk a little bit more about that and all things related. So to my lower right, we got my boy, Chris Zuiker, aka Zuiker's Island, aka World War Z, aka the Brand Whisperer, aka Zyke Tyson, aka Zuiker Jordan. What's up, man?
I like it.
Hey, man, I'm just trying to get hyped up today. It's cold. It's cold out down there.
I like the Tyson. I like the Tyson one.
Like Tyson. I know. That's probably my favorite. Like Tyson. That's how you got to start jumping on these calls. Be like, what's up, bitch? I'm Zyke Tyson. Let's go.
Like Tyson.
So what's up, man? I know we were talking before we jumped on the line a little bit about you've been doing the cold plunge, so I know we were talking about that a bit. You feeling it?
Are you ready to go into that?
Hey, man, I don't know. It's cold out.
Come right out of the gate.
Yeah, boom. Cold Plunge is awesome. Cold Plunge is I bought the actual unit from Cold Plunge, and yeah, it's night and day. I'm taking a cold shower.
All right, so
3 minutes a day.
So
you don't feel see that he's walking the walk. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of cold plunge companies out there, but who did Chris buy it from? ColdPlunge.com.
Is that really?
Who did I buy?
No, actually, it's not Cold Plunge. It's Plunge.com. They got
even better.
They got the premium one.
Even better. And guess who I bought my sauna from?
InfraredSaunas.com.
Sauna.com,
boom.
infraredsauna.com. They own all of it. They own the whole spectrum.
Yeah, they own
That
the
is
whole
Spectrum.
thing, too.
Yeah, so I'm with you. I think that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think we were going to make a really good domaining point on this yet. So you know what? Let me go ahead and let's finish the AKs, and then we're going to jump right back to this. I was just making conversation, but then y'all decided to go ahead and make it poignant. You know what I mean?
All roads lead to domains.
Bang! Tell them.
And if you got a great domain, then you got a 4 or 5 lane highway going straight to your, right to your store.
It is, and this is the kind of really a lot of what we're going to talk about today. This is going to be a big theme of today's show. So you know what? But real quick, let's finish the AKs. Below me, we got my boy Matthew Zuiker, aka the Kid, aka Zyke1, aka Matlock, aka the first of his name. What's up, man? How you doing? I got to get you a couple more AKAs, man. You know what I'm saying? Master Chief, maybe, aka Master Chief.
If I show up on enough of these, then I'll get more AKs. I feel like you get like one per episode you've been on.
And then you reach a point, where you kind of maxed out. But I think Master Chief, because I know you're a big Halo guy. I see you got the helmet and everything. You got to start coming on the show rocking the Halo. Like, can you actually put that on? Is that wearable?
Yeah, I could. It's a little cumbersome, and I have to put mics in there and stuff. But yeah, I could pull it off.
Man. Bro, you got to sacrifice for the team, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Look, that's a sacrifice I'd be willing to make.
That would actually be pretty badass if you show up, if that's your thing, like wearing the Master Chief helmet on shows and stuff.
I might get a little outfit for Christmas. That's his Christmas present. Get like the suit.
Yeah,
like show up in the suit, Matthew. Show up in the suit. Come on.
Do the thing.
When I was a kid, my parents used to have like that was like there was a point in time where I would put these blocks together and I would come out in a walker, like the little thing, the little like a little cycle, not even a cycle, it's a little mobile thing. And that was my parents. I was like the dinner parties, I was the entertainment for a second. Hey, bring Jonathan out to do the thing. You know what I'm saying? Do the blocks thing, do the thing.
Do the blocks thing.
Then you get too old for it. You're 14 years old and you're like, I can't do the blocks thing anymore, man. It's just, that's it, Dad.
It's not impressive.
It's time to move on. It's time to move on. But anyway, so that's what's up. So look, like I said, we got the squad on here today, getting close to the end of the year. We got a lot of exciting things happening, internally, a lot of stuff we can't talk about, but the stuff that we can, I think the plunge thing is really interesting. And again, I didn't even really expect that was going to get to where it got to, but I think it is a great point. And because I've been shopping for it. So you went and got the full on, like, is it an outdoor, indoor? What's the
So it's basically a glorified bathtub, but it's interesting because the process that I went on is the process to sell domain name, right? So first I start with the worldview. It's like, okay, I was into Wim Hof and you're seeing him jump into lakes and, rivers and, Drew's into Wim Hof too. And it's like, okay, cold plunge is nice. I'm doing the cold showers and then like my worldview shatters, right? They're like, hey, it increases testosterone. It helps you with immunity. Helps you with blood flow, circulation, right? I mean, all these different benefits you have. And so, boom, worldview shattered, right? And then, out there searching for a cold plunge. And it was like, if I do it, if I'm going to spend 2, I might as well spend 5, right? Because I want to do it the right way. I want to get the absolute best and do it, like perfect, right? And so
I wish all our customers felt like that. If I'm going to spend 2, I might as well spend 5.
Well, it's all relative, right, to the purchase. But so the first thing was,
hey, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's like my worldview is it aligned with the cold plunge. It's like, okay, I want to get a cold plunge now, right? So I mean, it took time. It took watching videos like this. It took that repetition for me to get over the edge. It wasn't the first time I went to the site that it said, I want this cold, I'm going to buy this. But it was like this process to say, okay, I'm done with the ice. And so, yeah, I researched it, and like you have all these other brands that are out there and, none of them look like they were the leaders. And, plunge.com, I forget the domain they had before. You can look it up. It's out there. But, that's what kind of brought me to this point. I was like, okay, this is it. Like, this is the best. And then I got on there and I looked at social proof, right? So there's worldview, self-view, and roadmap. Self-view was looking at all the, the testimonials, looking at the, their social proof on their Facebook, seeing how people are using it. And I was like, well, okay, that's really cool. Okay, great. I can do this as well. And then the roadmap was buy the cold plunge, right? Now they make it a little bit more difficult because it's like a 6-week wait time or something crazy. But, that's like buy it now, right? Okay, enter my information in, buy it. And then, it ships And I mean, it's just, the difference between doing something right and, scraping by is just, is night and day, right? Night and day for the performance, the ease of use, the amount of times I use it. And it comes back to domains. I mean, like doing something right. Yeah. These companies, they can get away with a domain name that's a dash or, I try, whatever. But like doing it right and creating this simple path, I use it more. I get more benefits from it. And I mean, just, it's amazing. I'd recommend everyone get the Cold Plunge,
It's funny. Oh, go ahead, man.
I was going to say, I think like based off that point, it's interesting because I have a friend who got a Cold Plunge. He got a really cheap one to start out with, and he did it like a handful of times. And because it wasn't good, he ended up just not using it anymore. And he hasn't done it in months because he's like, oh, now I got to go out there and clean it. I got to put ice in there every time. It's more expensive to maintain. And it's the same thing with, your domain. If you don't get a good one, then you're going to neglect it. It's going to be like kind of the least thing in your mind. You're not going to pay as much attention to your brand and like maintaining that and upholding it because it just costs too much, or it's just not beneficial. It's not worth it.
Yeah. It's really funny. Again, I was just making conversation because I'm actually in the market for a cold plunge, and I've been looking up all the things, and I do keep coming back to plunge.com because their actual tubs, they actually look higher quality than a lot of the others in general. So it's like, it's interesting. It's like, okay, so, and they're more expensive than a lot of others. Like there's definitely cheaper options, right? But I'm with you. It's like, because I would like to have it outside by the pool. Like I have a whole plan for where I would, and I'm like, do I get the inflatable joint off Amazon that's a couple $100? And then it's like, then to Matthew's point, you got to fill it with ice, and then it's the water, and then it's like, it's just doesn't just.
The more resistance you create, the more friction, the less
you're likely to get any value out of it. And I mean,
well, it's trust too.
It's literally, this is a domain metaphor. You know what I'm saying? This is like, it's like in the holiday season, this is like a parable. You know what I'm saying? This is like right out the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Jesus, this was the cold plunge Jesus would use. I know you guys are like, don't say that.
Yeah. Okay. No, but the journey is the same journey, right? The journey to selling something is the exact same journey. Lower price ticket items, the $2,000 domain name. Listen, it's a quicker journey. It's like, you're drinking, half a bottle of tequila at night, and you're like, okay, great, I need this, put your information in, you buy it, right? But it's the same process, same journey, and you can see that, and it's about trust. It's like, okay, I'm putting $5,000 down. I better trust this, right? And so that brings it back to trust. Like, hey, they're behind their brand. They've invested in their brand. They own this simple and effortless path, and that trust leads to leadership, leads to conversion, right? It's why we say your domain equals your brand equity, and this brand equity is this long-term customers and simplicity and conversion and some intangible.
Yeah, no. All I know is we should have gotten in the cold plunge business about 2 years ago. If you look at the SEO stats on the search stats on the words cold plunge tub, I mean, it makes Bitcoin look like child's play. It's just like up and to the right,
to the moon with the cold plunge.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, the health benefits of as people looking, trends are trends.
Oh, this is a nice little nugget for all y'all out there. All right, for any of the real OG domain investors who are listening to this will understand who this guy is. But I was just looking at these keyword stats that I was just mentioning, everything up and to the right, and I was looking for like secondary, keywords that might not be fully exploited yet. And the number 2 keyword is cold plunge tub. So I thought to myself, who owns Cold Plunge Tub? So I just went and looked it up. And it's owned by our boy, Alf Hem. Alf is, he is, how do you best describe Alf? Alf is the guy that invented the $15,000 exercise machine.
Oh, right.
That's in the back of the, your airline catalog, or like,
okay.
What was it called? What was this thing called? It's amazing, and it works. Yeah. It works. Anyways, Alf is an inventor. He happens to also be an incredible domain investor. Alf had me.com. Is it me.com? Apple bought? Which one? No, it's me. Yeah. Alf sold
Yeah, it is me.
me.com
Yeah.
to Apple, I think for 8 million, back when 8 million used to be a thing. And Alf has got an amazing domain portfolio. But Alf also, not only did he invent the $15,000 exercise bike, Alf also invented the cedar sauna. Like every sauna you go in worldwide today is cedar panels. Alf literally invented that. Prior to that, saunas were stone or ceramic tile or whatever they were. Alf is the dude that invented the cedar paneled sauna. And anyways, Alf is literally one of the most interesting guys I've ever met in my entire life. And that's saying a lot because we encounter a lot of interesting people in the domain name business. But Alf is up there. Alf is in like my top 10 just favorite people I've ever encountered.
Dude, what's Alf up to now, and how do we get him on the show? You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you just
we should hit up Alf. I would love to get Alf on the show.
A great guest.
I put Alf at the top of the priority list.
We're
gonna get Alf on the show.
Everything about that was super cool. Like I'm like, now I've got a new hero. And sorry, Drew, but yeah, I think so a couple of things about that is, when you look at the way this trend has exploded, and I've been in the market like a lot of people looking for a plunge pool, like a plunge tub, and I've gone through this exercise a couple of times, and there's no doubt that I've come back to plunge.com more than probably anywhere else aside from maybe one of the, the Amazon listings. There's a couple other ones that I saw that were like literally at a .club domain. And maybe it's just me being a .com, maxi or whatever, or just being a consumer on the internet in general. I just feel like, man, like, I'm not even sure this credit card transaction is going to go through, or that that this isn't full on phishing. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like, if your site is literally coldplunge.club or something, and like they got that post, on the thing, and I'm just like, if it's going to cost me the same amount of money, why wouldn't I go with shit that looks literally like it's an established brand? That, to me, I go to plunge.com, I'm like, I feel like these guys have been here as long as cold plunge tubs have been around. So
that's a valid point. I remember I was reading a Twitter, we say Twitter tweets now, or X tweet or X post,
X,
and it was like this SEO guy's like, I make 10,000 or whatever, 20,000 reselling saunas. So I mean, just that, like, you don't know.
Oh,
like,
Alf owns sauna.com. Sauna.com is Alf. That's his company, Nordic Sauna.
What?
Sauna.com is Alf. Yeah, I just looked it up.
Wow.
Alf is a G, man. Alf is a straight G. He literally, I'm not even playing. Alf is one of my top 10 favorite people I've ever encountered in my life. I remember we were in LA at a domain conference. It was in like the hangar of where they had the space shuttle hanging up, and we were like sitting on a sofa underneath the space shuttle, and I'm talking, and who was there? It was I don't know. I'm not going to embarrass anybody, but it was somebody in the domain industry that probably could have used a good workout routine on one of Alf's bikes, and Alf just destroyed this dude. I mean, it was horrible. But he meant it in a very constructive way. But he was just like, it was terrible. And then he like looked over at me, and I was sitting there with my wife, and he was like, and, Alf is like 80, 90. He was probably 80 at that time. I don't know how old he is now. He's up there, but he's, he's fit. He still does. I think he told me he does 10 minutes every day on his little thing. He's out, he's doing he's been doing this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Alf was so far ahead of the curve. He was just a brilliant guy. Look at that. Sauna.com.
He owns ColdPlunge then, Drew. ColdPlunge.com too, because that redirects the sauna. That's
really,
you know what? It's such a small world. That's the other key takeaway. It is a small world because the people that we bump heads with and bump into, it's like it's just small when you get to this level.
Yep.
I like to say I talk to billionaires, millionaires, thousandaires, and hundredaires, every day,
Yeah.
But I'm talking to you today.
Yep.
I talk to the best marketers and the worst marketers, but I'm talking to you today. And they're like, oh, okay, am I the best one or the worst? Which one am I?
Only you can decide.
Only you can decide.
And the machine that
the red pill or the blue pill?
The machine that he invented, the ROM, range of motion.
That's it.
It's like
That's it.
Yeah. It's like get
Range
the full
ROM
cardiovascular
machine.
full cardiovascular workout in 4 minutes or less. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, and let me tell you something. Everybody doubts Alf. Let me tell you something. Never doubt Alf. Okay?
Yeah.
Never. Alf knows the machine works. It just is what it is.
Just get him on for 10 minutes.
It's constant resistance. It's some crazy.
10 minutes later, we'll have one of those ROM machines. I'm telling you,
I'm gonna order one. We get off the call.
In my garage, I'm gonna have a ROM machine. I'm gonna have a cold plunge tub, and I'm gonna have a sauna all hooked up by the end of the show.
Listen, I remember this is 12 years ago. I told Alf, I said, Alf, when I make my first $1 million, I'm gonna get one of your ROM machines. And that day came and went.
No machine.
But so still, yeah, I'm due. I'm gonna get the Alf TEMME ROM machine. That thing is coming to a home gym near you in Lisbon. I'll tell you right now.
I love it. Put in the new gym. So no, that's good stuff.
ROM Fab.
So, and I think this is a good segue too into this Rick Schwartz article that Rick put on his blog that I think is very much like, so when you talk about, and this was a fantastic segue talking about the cold plunge tubs into the domains, the key domains that really do immediately provide your brand with validity, the reputational value, all of the reasons why, exactmatch.com domain names are literally, absolutely critical for any business that's going to try to make it long term, right? So, and Rick posted this article on his blog where he says, enabling the dreamers and the dreams. And so, and big shout out to Rick. I know not everybody agrees with Rick on everything, nor do you have to. But this article, I thought really, to me, was really on point, and I thought was really good stuff. So, does one of you guys want to kind of take it from there? Just give a quick synopsis, and we'll talk about it a bit.
I think Drew should.
Well, so what was poignant to me is, the point that Rick makes about, I guess making it all very simple, right? You're an entrepreneur. You have a vision. You decided that you're going to go build this product, this service, okay? You're going to build an audience. You're going to build a customer base. You're going to get this thing out in the world. You're trying to solve a problem. Maybe you're going to go raise capital. Maybe you've already got capital, whatever it might be. It is a very unfortunate circumstance that we find ourselves in where most of these entrepreneurs do not understand that literally where the rubber meets the road for their idea is a domain name in 90% of cases. And if you are still brick and mortar, what about tomorrow, right? And so, in the brick and mortar world, where the rubber meets the road used to be your retail store or your warehouse or your corporate building, your office space. But that's not the case anymore in most businesses. And tomorrow more than today, and the next day more than tomorrow. Where the rubber meets the road is a domain name. It is literally the vehicle by which you will bring your idea to life. And so what Rick is saying is beautiful in that it's, look, you have invested your emotions, your time, your resources into this idea, and you want to bring it to life. Why are you going to put it in a wheelchair? And by wheelchair, I mean an imperfect domain, something that is less than the perfect domain name for your business. Why would you do that? It's an insult to yourself. Yeah. And, what I like is, he highlights the ability of, there's more than one way to skin the cat. If you are the right entrepreneur with the right idea, if you're a schmuck, you're a schmuck. Okay, I can't do anything to help you. But if you are the right entrepreneur with the right idea and the ability, you might not have the resources, but the ability to achieve those resources or to get investors or to whatever by bringing on the right talent, whatever it is, whatever your abilities are. If you're the right entrepreneur, and you got the right idea, and you got the ability to accumulate the right resources to bring your idea to fruition, we got a domain for you. And it might be that you only have, maybe you pay $1,000 a month. Maybe you pay $500 a month. And you got 5 years to go turn this idea into a reality.
Yeah.
And if you can't do that with the best possible domain for that idea, then it was the wrong idea. No harm, no foul. Move on. We're going to take the name back. You're going to move on. But if you are the right guy with the right idea and the right resources on the right domain, in 5 years, what the idea that you wouldn't have taken that domain will be absurd to you because it's absurd to not do so.
Yeah.
It behooves you to find a way to get into that domain. Get into the Ferrari, not the wheelchair. Give your domain, give your business the best vehicle by which to come to life.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
hey,
look, I'm with it.
That's what I get from that article is it just reinvigorated me. Look, I get jaded and I get frustrated because we're out there pounding the pavement every day. These people talking to people, and most of them are stupid, and most of them are not the right entrepreneur, and they don't have the right idea. They're trying to just be the next wheel. You know what I mean? They're just trying to be the next cog. They're not doing something important. But the ones that are, which is the 1 in 100, okay. The ones that are, it breaks my heart. It truly frustrates me to no end when I get on the phone with somebody who doesn't understand how important this domain name is or how much of a difference this domain name could make to their vision. Or maybe they understand it, but they are not willing to commit to it. And I'm not saying commit to paying the full price on day one. I'm saying commit to the vision that this domain name will bring to their business so that they can get into financing or a lease with an option to buy so that they can, on day one, de-risk their business, de-risk their investors, and give their business idea the absolute best possible chance to survive and thrive.
Yep. And I think and a great point too, and Rick brings this up as well, is like, the lease options, the financing options around domains have become so much more prevalent across many of the different platforms, as well as a bunch of the folks that hold a lot of really high quality, high value domains. We see it across, obviously we're open to those things with our own portfolio, but even with the clients that we represent that are selling domains, especially the super high value stuff, there is definitely an openness, a willingness for those folks to lease domains on terms that make it absolutely accessible. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing, and it's funny. I remember Rick at NamesCon, and this is he had a quote where he said, "Look, my domain's not too expensive. It's that your idea is too small." And I thought that was some real shit. Yeah. I like that a lot. And beyond that, though, it's also but even taking it another step forward by allowing these options to be able to finance it or lease it or whatever, it's like, it's actually not even, the price shouldn't even be that preclude you that much, because if you're talking about $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month, if you're talking about ideas that you believe are going to turn your business into a unicorn, right? Then, what are we even talking about? We're talking about the cost that's in the article. He literally said it's like $33 a day. It's the cost of lunch. And you're going on a subpar domain name. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Chris, you were going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, I think, Drew, you hit it, man. It's like people don't see its limiting risk, right? So, there's the opportunity side, which is huge because you're creating a simple and effortless path for your customers. It's trust, right? It's leadership. It is
you're raising risk, just sorry to interrupt, but it's a great point. What you're doing with the perfect domain for your idea or for your business is you're raising the ceiling of opportunity and at the same time raising the floor of risk. So you're de-risking and increasing opportunity.
Compounding effect.
Like, in what world is that not the right answer?
Well, I think we've seen it with some companies that have lost their domain, because another company came in and they rebrand. It's like, what's the cost of that, right? What's the cost of this?
What's the risk? Not just the cost, but what's the risk of rebranding?
Right. Yeah. Apps starting from scratch, SEO, everything, right? It's like
everything.
that is
Word
massive.
of mouth, SEO, all that stuff out the door. Bye-bye now.
So yeah, so I mean, awesome point, limiting risk. And this is why I wrote my book, domainnamebrokersecrets.com. You can go check it out.
Check it
Seven
out.
Dimensions, right? It's that it hits all of these factors. The other thing you said, Drew, and I think Rick said too, is like the ROI. It's free. It's
Free.
like literally $1,000. It's free because you're immediate. Like it doesn't even cost you $33. It's free because the increased conversion and trust. I remember, Drew, we were, won't say the domain, but we were talking to this guy who's all about marketing, spends like several $1 million in marketing, and we were talking this category defined domain name, and I mean, this guy's preaching it all the time on his podcast, and yet get it with executive team, they couldn't see it. They couldn't see, is like the perfect lease option. It's free. They're saying they're gonna expand in this category. They want to own it. And yet they just couldn't see it. Now it's funny because I was listening to his podcast, every podcast after that, I'm like, man, I can't listen to you because like you just like it's fake. Like you're preaching this stuff, but then you have literally the golden goose presented to you free, no risk, and you are too scared to take that leap. And then the third point is that this idea of employee, I use that all the time. I didn't get that from Rick, but I mean, maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe I saw something years ago, but I was on the call with someone yesterday, and they were talking. Well, we don't really have a lot of money. It was a startup, a lot of employees, we don't have a lot of money, and here's where we're at. Here's what years ago they counted us at, and I was like, you should have taken it. Like you just should have bought that domain. I was like, you're crazy that you didn't buy that. And so he was struggling, and so I walked him through. I said, listen, it's once again. It's like hiring one sales, can you, like, if you can justify hiring a salesperson, you can justify buying your domain, right? What's a salesperson make today? 150, maybe 200. I said, this is the equivalent of 10 salespeople, maybe even more, into perpetuity compounding effect. I said, you're just looking at it the wrong way. You need to look at it like this. And then I hit the risk, Drew. I was like, this domain is going to sell the next 2 years. And when it sells, like the game's changed. Like you are now there's noise. Okay. I call that global positioning. That's the first dimension to the 7 dimensions, global positioning. It's like, who owns the global position for your brand? And people are myopic market. They're like, well, we own the trademark. It's like, that doesn't matter. There's 45 trademark classes. Someone's going to come in. There could be more. I don't know, variations, whatever, but like it's going to sell. And when it sells, it's going to impact your ability to market and to convert, and the noise and the confusion. And then I brought up email security, and I was like, he was blown away. He hadn't thought of the email security aspect. I was like, listen, type in quote, this domain, end quote. I said, 100% guarantee you there's emails in there that you sent to the wrong company. I said, do it. I said, have your legal team do it. I said, 100%, unequivocally, it happens. So yeah, I think that was a great article. I mean, I think how, domainers can use that is the analogy of the employee is great. And then, creating that desire. I think Rick does a great job creating the desire, getting on the phone, getting, that conversation going to where there's, a bigger play at stake if he invests in their business, because by default, it's kind of an investment, right? This domain.
MediaOptions is the industry's leading domain broker specializing in domain acquisitions, high-value domain sales, and domain name consultation. As pioneers and thought leaders on the subject of the domain aftermarket and domain name value, plus through their clear domain acquisition service, MediaOptions offers startups and established corporations an unparalleled scope of high-value domain options, providing access to domain names and curation technologies not available elsewhere. MediaOptions believes in the power of a great domain name and is dedicated to helping you obtain yours. Call or email today to put a domain to work for you.
Well, and I think, you touch on a couple of things. One other article that I saw. So you can check out the Rick article at ricksblog.com. So that's where you can see the article that Rick wrote. But, another article that I saw that ties into a lot of this as well, and it's because so many of these themes are universal and recurring, obviously. But Andrew Alleman at domainnamewire.com just dropped an article, I think it was maybe a day or two ago, which talks about the 14 mistakes to avoid when choosing a domain. basically reached out to a handful of entrepreneurs. Actually, I think he published this yesterday, as of the day we're recording. And a handful of these folks are basically like, one of them is literally says, let's see, avoid cleverness, for global appeal. Right. It's like this idea you talk about, global positioning, and a handful of these folks all say the same thing too. It's switch to .com early, choose authentic domain names. .com domains boost trustworthiness. Consider readability and domain name, like, future proof your domain name. It's really crazy because it's like, it's so funny. It's like, it's the same soup reheated because it's the same themes that are so like prevalent, but yet people miss it because, they're either, ignorant to it. Ignorant probably sounds a little harsh, stupid, also harsh, also true. Or cheap. And it's this idea of penny wise, pound foolish, and, not thinking through the long-term impacts of, hey, like I'm putting all of this time, all of this money. I'm so invested in my business. It's so much who I am and what I'm about. And yet, I'm going to take this enormously key aspect of it and I'm going to short sight the way that I approach it. And in doing so, and we see it with the mom and pop level, which to me is a little bit more understanding or understandable. But then you get it all the way up through, the board level of big companies that have thousands of employees and still can't see the forest for the trees, which I think is really, crazy interesting. So.
Well, that's why this domain Sherpa Shorts is important, right? Because it's education, but the word's getting out. I mean, I talked to another startup just actually it's Thanksgiving Day. He called me up. I was like, you know what? I love what I do. I said it's not a bother. I said let's chat, man. I said there is no days off when you love what you do. But
that's right.
We were talking about his domain and like pricing. I was kind of going through, it was a value and who owns it, what's going to take, but. He said the same thing over and over again. It's like, hey, I know from past experience what owning the raw version of my brand does, and I mean, it has a significant impact on, conversations with investors, so I mean, the message is getting out there as this happens more and more. I think more marketing executives are seeing that. And I mean, it was the same thing as like, yeah, we understand the impact that having the raw version has. And I think the big thing that we need to probably continue to work on, I need to work on, but is this thought of ROI, like quantifying that, right? The employee is a good example. What percentage increase would you get in your conversion is a great example, right? The long-term impact from your marketing. But yeah, I think the message is getting out there just by default of more people having gone through this now that it's important.
Yeah, and I mean, and we see it at high levels with folks that, like you said, have been through it. Big time angel investors. I use the Jason Calcanis example for Calm.com a lot, where he even has gone as far as to say part of the reason he invested in the company was because the domain name, showed that they have the proper vision and scope on their their plan.
I told this story years ago, but I was the second highest bidder in that auction for Calm.com. They got that domain, I believe, for $80,000.
Oh, wow. Shoot.
I topped out at 75. I can't remember. It might have been a Sato. This is a long ass time ago though. And, number one, I didn't have the kind of capital back then. And then number two, that was a lot for a wholesale, for an investor to pay for a domain back then. But I wanted that domain so bad. And the founder of Calm, I think Michael was there's two partners. I think one of them was Michael. Michael was the one I think bought the domain. And he was a little, kind of part-time.
Yeah, Michael Acton Smith.
Yeah, he was. And I hit him after the auction because I regretted not making that over the top bid. And I was like, "Look, I'll give you 100. Give me the name." And he was like, "Nah, man, I'm not selling it. I'm going to start a business." I was like, "Stop playing. You're a domainer. You're not going to start a business. Stop playing." And he's like, "No, really, you want to invest?" And I had the opportunity to invest into the company at the same terms that Calcanis did. It wasn't even a formalized company yet. And my wife said no. Famous last words. My wife said no. But hell of a name, hell of a domain.
Oh, 100%. You know, we
These
see it too
four-letter
with-
words are the grails. I think a four-letter, obviously a two-letter.com is really like, nothing says trust like a two-letter.com. But a four-letter word, an easy to spell, positive connotation, four-letter word. I think after all these years, I think I would say that is really like the holy grail of a digital brand. Is four-letter, easy to spell, positive connotation, kind of universal keyword.
Sure. Well,
Yeah,
I think of ring.com. I mean, there's just
There's a lot.
There's obviously a ton,
Zoom, Ring,
yeah.
there's a lot. There's a lot out there.
Well, you're buying, and that's what people don't see is like you're buying the momentum that's already out there, right? So the investment is you're buying this, they're buying momentum in the goodwill behind Calm.
It's a household name on day one.
Yeah. Well,
you know what I mean?
No, but you tap into that equity that's there. It's
Yep.
like you're buying it at a fraction of the cost of what that equity stands for.
Yep.
And so like it's an investment.
That's a very interesting. I want to explore that topic, not today in this call, but I'm gonna start thinking about that. That's a very interesting topic, very interesting idea about the built-in equity, the built-in brand equity of these domain names, and how you are now exploiting that built-in equity in the same way that Nikola Tesla understood that there was all this energy. It's finite, but it's an absolutely incredible amount of energy all around us in what we think about as empty space. But he called it the ether, and AETHER, nothing to do with the shit coin. And so, he basically understood that the universe, this empty space of the universe, was filled with energy. And you just had to understand how to tap into it. And we basically have an abundant, almost infinite amount of almost free energy around us if we know how to utilize it. And he did. That's why they killed him. But spoiler alert. But it's the same idea. You have all this built-in brand equity into these domain names. That once you own it, you don't have to spend a penny to basically unlock that brand equity.
Yeah, you're not buying a domain. You're buying a share of the equity that's there at a fraction of the cost of what it would have cost to build that, right? So
because it's already built into the human consciousness, the collective consciousness.
Again, I use the plunge.com example where if I went to that site, even if they put the site up yesterday, I would have thought, I have no idea how long the company's been around, but I look at it like, I think these guys have always been doing this thing. You know what I mean? Like you're there. Yeah, obviously because they've invested money, obviously in such a great domain name, they've invested money into their site and the other things. And it looks like they have a very good product. Again, I would automatically assume this is an established business, has been around for a long time. And, and you'd have to literally prove to me differently. And and I think that's
trust. It's brand equity. It's trust. It's
day one. It's pretty awesome.
Well, it's interesting. So I did that. I'm going to plug my book again here. I probably shouldn't plug it because Domain Broker Secrets was my view over 8 years of doing this. Right, working with Drew. These conversations like, how do I explain this to someone? The 7 meant global positioning, industry positioning, right? Global positioning, how you rank to all the other brands, industry positioning, how you rank to your competitors, right? So, I mean, JT, you're saying you're going to plunge.com, you're going to this .club domain, like consumers do that. It's part of this, you're not going to drop this money without seeing what else is out there, right? And today there's so many white label products that are fake and cheap and like knockoffs, right? That, if it's a big purchase or even a small purchase, you're looking, right? That's industry positioning. Then there's branding, marketing, SEO, email security. And I'm changing email security to really security in general, right? Because it has a much overarching effect to people being able to, knock off your domain and especially if you're in finance, impersonate you. All these scams. And then there's, the ability to scale, right? The 7 dimensions. So I basically, someone comes, you just pick one you pick 3 or 2 or that make the most sense for that company. And you say, hey, here's why you need it. I mean, it's pretty easy. It's a quick way to understand and explain the benefits to why you need your domain.
I mean, that's it. Boom. And I don't even look at it like, I mean, you plug the book, the book's free, right? I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
so, and it's a lot of, there's no shame in promoting something that's really just out there to help people. So,
Well, I use it to, to get people across finish line. I mean, that's so.
Well, that's the other thing too. Look,
resource for me.
Speaking of plugging something, now I'm going to kind of, I'm going to plug our, when talking about book, I'm going to talk our book for a second, meaning the broader book of Media Options. It's like, so much of what we do is educating folks, right, on both sides of the fence. But most importantly, when we have clients that we're representing their domain names, and we're out there pounding the pavement, putting in the work that really very few other people do. And in my opinion, nobody else does as well as we do. You're really spending a lot of your time trying to educate people to understand the real value of these things, these digital assets, in order for them to make the right choice for their business, and that's not easy. Just because we make it look easy doesn't mean that it is. So I think it's,
well, I mean, at some point, Drew's got to publish his emails. It's like, you're an idiot. I love you. You're still an idiot, but I think you're the best.
Well, it's actually more like, you're an idiot. I love you. Here's why you're an idiot. Don't be an idiot. You're no longer an idiot.
Yeah.
It's like it's trying to get them down that path. Well, because it is interesting too, and like
just doing my part. You know what I mean? Just doing my part.
Like an MBA
get everybody
class
off the stupidity ledge.
Well, and this goes back to a lot of what we talk about too with
like an MBA and selling.
Well, from what I see, right, because, obviously I'm on a lot of these threads and, in some of these meetings and things. And, and when you're dealing with big companies, especially, you're trying to find that right person, right? And sometimes it's role dependent, right? Because we talk about this too, people underestimate. They think, I got a hold of the CTO. Like, that's going to be the way to convince them. And it's like, more often than not, the tech folks, they hate the idea of getting a new domain, because for them, it's just a whole lot of work. They appreciate the de-risking and the lack of, and shoring up things like email leakage and some of the other security risks that come from using some off-brand domain name. But the idea of having to, implement, new processes and things around, putting a new domain into the mix, that's work for them. And marketing folks, more often than not, really appreciate it. The key is also to really make sure that it's the C-suite and the decision makers, right? So, I mean, you spend a ton of time trying to find the right people at the right companies to make sure that they can appreciate the value, and then, and get them on the right side of it. And then, because you need to almost, educate these folks that become the evangelists within these boardrooms and these executive meetings and things, to get them, to then also be preaching the gospel. And I know we were literally just talking about this earlier today about, the one company that we're currently dealing with on the one name that, basically they're like, we get you to come to our next board meeting so that you can then, explain this to everybody, so that, make my life easier, because I believe this is the right choice for us and what we need to be doing. Can you please, like I don't need to be convincing it. You've convinced me. Now, can you come and please convince the rest of the folks that need to be convinced, And I think that's an interesting thing. So, and I love it. It's magic when it happens, because it is a process, and it's surprising how much of a process it still has to be, but.
I mean, that's why you want to use Media Options, pure and simple, right? Is that you cannot have these conversations as the owner. You can't. I mean, that just comes across differently. They're looking at it in a different way, but they're open to the conversation, education, because of the experience that we have, the conversation we've had with the other owners and marketers. So when you're selling a domain name, I'd say it's almost impossible to get into some of these conversations. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
To get into these conversations. Like, you need to use the options. I mean,
yeah, no, but not to turn
at the
this
end
into
of the
a commercial
day,
for us, but it's pretty cool.
No, but listen,
100%,
at the end of the day, you get on the phone with these people. Nobody cares. Okay, let's just be honest. Nobody cares. It's an unfortunate thing. I come back to what I was saying at the beginning when I got all hyped up. But unfortunately, the case is that most people don't care. And so they don't care until that day when they have a boardroom meeting, or they wake up with a cold sweat and they, oh my God, I need my domain. But for the most part, they don't care. And so when you get on the phone with these people, unless you can speak confidently, unless you can basically, virtually slap them across the face and say, wake the fuck up. You're missing out here. What do you not understand? Let me explain this to you. Unless you can do that, which arguably there's nobody else that can, you know, you're not going to get anywhere because that's what it takes. You got to wake these people up out of their slumber, let them understand what this domain name represents. And most people are just, you know, they're hibernating.
Well, what I say, Drew, is you have to break their worldview and it has to align with your worldview, right? So the
We
same
just do it in
thing,
two
a
different
little
ways.
bit softer.
Yeah, you have a
It's
softer,
like,
more
you
educational
have to-
approach. I'm more of a grab them by the neck, slam them against the wall.
Yeah. You know, you have to shatter their worldview and you have to replace. I remember there's 2 sales I had, like 7-figure sales. And, you know, literally I told them to fire their marketing team. Well, my marketing team thinks doesn't matter. So you got to fire them. Fire them right now because they don't understand why you need this and how this is important. And both of them, one led to the sale actually doubled. We actually sold it for twice as much as, you know, we originally went to them with. And then the other one got them across the finish line. But it was, you know, it was very simple. It's like with your point, Drew, with confidence, because we believe it. Like we've seen it. Yeah. Your marketing team doesn't understand. You need to fire them.
Yeah.
And that was like, oh, okay, wow, hold on a second.
Like, we just hired a branding agency. Say, oh, let me know where to send the flowers.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love it. The John Wick approach to negotiation. But yeah, man, no, look, and so we'll segue off of that, but I just think you know, I do think it is interesting. We see it every day. We're nerds about domain names, and this is obviously we live, eat, sleep, breathe this stuff, and you know, it's just you know, it seems clear as day when we talk about it. But you know, it's a process. But trust the process. And anyway, so we're running out of time here, guys, because we're actually overtime. But this is great. Anything else that anybody want to add before we go? Anything else on the? All right, acceptance by silence. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's how we do it. All right. Well, listen. You know, got a lot more to come. A lot more good stuff happening. I know we're all busy. We got great things in the works, so some of which y'all will hear about sooner than later, but some you won't, you know, because that's just how it goes. But I appreciate you guys taking the time. Drew, Chris, Matthew, as always, my co-host with me today. And to the audience, I want to thank you guys for showing up, taking the time to listen or watch. As I say on every show, without you, there is no us. Make sure you hit us up, though. You know, we've got the videos now on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. You know, we did actually Billy collected a couple of YouTube comments, which he sent along, and some questions and things didn't make the cut for the show. Some people asking about some blockchain domains, which we'll set aside for a dedicated episode.
Yeah, we're going to have a whole separate conversation about that. Let y'all, you know.
Yeah, we got some stuff to talk about there. There's some really interesting things happening in that space. There were some really...
Is there though?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about, Drew. You know what I'm saying? Spoiler alert. But no, we got some other cool things coming up too by way of shows and things that are happening here on DomainSherpa. There were some really very complimentary comments. I want to thank everybody who was saying that, you know, giving props to the host. You know what I'm saying? And the same people who were telling that maybe Drew might talk a little too much, but it is his show. He has paid for this microphone. I'm just playing. But I'm not playing. I appreciate you guys. Keep the comments coming. But otherwise all good. Like I said, you know, get to everywhere that you can listen and watch and definitely interact the best you can. And especially if you have questions or comments, let us know. You know, we love hearing that, the good, the bad, the ugly. It is all appreciated. So with that, y'all, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see everybody next time here on Domain Sherpa, where all roads lead to domains. Peace out, y'all.